Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And a warning that today's show contains audio images and discussion of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died. This special Doin Time broadcast is part 2 of an annual tribute to Uncle Ray Jackson, a Wiradjuri warrior for human rights who was one of Australia's most vocal and knowledgeable deaths in custody campaigners. He was born 27th of March 1941 and died on the 23rd of April 2015. A fighter for Koori Justice, or FKJ, as he always signed his weekly emails, Ray Jackson spent nearly 30 years holding our police, prisons and court systems to account every time a blackfella died in custody. He dedicated his life to fighting for justice and human rights of Aboriginal people affected by the so-called criminal justice system and all people affected by state violence. To the end of his life, Uncle Ray Jackson remained a tireless fighter for Australian and other First Nations peoples and an uncompromising internationalist. All this and more was discussed in part 1 of this series during a powerful interview with Joseph Pugliese, a longtime friend of Ray Jackson. Today in part 2, further tributes will be paid to Uncle Ray from the following people. Lisa Deluca, friend of Ray Jackson. She considers him her mentor. I believe they worked together on Aboriginal deaths in custody campaigns in ISJA. Sergio Zorino and Dick Whitehead, who worked extensively with Ray in the trade unions, and they will give a history of Ray's work, which is little known, especially in the area of occupational health and safety. Carolyn Jackson, Ray's daughter, who helped organise this show today, and Raoul Bassi from ISJA, who worked alongside Ray campaigning to build the movement to stop Aboriginal deaths in custody. So pretty soon we will be speaking with Lisa.
3CR Community Radio is dedicated to exploring the issues that affect our future.
Because I think it is something we just need to be talking about.
855 AM. Tune in and listen up.
And you're back with the Doin Time show. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to the program.
Oh, hi.
It's lovely to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You know, it's very refreshing to have some new people on today's show because I've been doing these memorial shows for, every year now for Uncle Ray, and it's always good to have a fresh perspective on celebrating his life and some of the work that he's done. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and talk about some of the work that you've done with Ray and how you met him and just talk about him and how you feel?
Oh, okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm a criminal lawyer. I've been a criminal lawyer for 30 years in Sydney. I first met Ray, it would be decades ago, really when the TJ Hickey thing happened.
Yep.
And I'd been at rallies and seen him in action and was always really impressed with what he was doing. It would have been about 2012, 2013, I approached him and I said, look, I've got a bit more time on my hands. Can I do anything? And so Ray welcomed me with open arms, and we became friends and colleagues, and we worked together, and he really influenced me and my politics and the way that I practice the law in a way that nobody else ever has, really.
How so?
Well, he made me realise that there is a large part of the community which is unrepresented, and despite the fact that we call it a justice system, justice isn't working for those people. I'd always been aware of deaths in custody, of course, since I really began practicing law, but it was Ray who hammered that home to me that we really need to be fighting for them because nobody else is. And Ray showed me how to do that. And he made me, I suppose you would call it militant, whereas I wasn't really militant before. I wasn't as active as I really should have been. And he opened my eyes to that.
And were you doing work in ISJA at the time?
Well, I'd known him many years before I started working with ISJA.
Yeah.
I started after that conversation that we had after a rally. I think it was for the one of the Eddie Murray rallies, one of the older deaths in custody matters, that we started talking and we started organising better. And Uncle Ray would sort of ring me when there was a death in custody, and we'd have to help the families and make sure that evidence was preserved, and the right people were put in place to help the families. So, yeah,
that's great.
I suppose I was part of ISJA even before I realised I was part of ISJA. Yeah,
that happened to me too when I was in Melbourne. Yeah, it's yeah.
It has a way of doing it. And so did Raoul.
What it sounds like to me is that you're actually supporting not just Ray but also the families of the Aboriginal people that have died in custody, and you looked at a different way of practicing law?
Definitely, because I feel that the orthodox ways of dealing with it, with deaths in custody, aren't working. So we've got to find another way of dealing with it, because the people that should be stepping in and dealing with it, i.e. the government, are not, and they're not holding themselves to account. And the police are investigating themselves over possibly criminal actions, and that shouldn't be. There should be independent investigators brought in. That's not happening. So Ray sort of impressed on me that there needs to be an unorthodox way of looking and dealing with the spectre of deaths in custody.
And so you used to go through some of the evidence with him?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I still have a lot of the files that he gave to me before he passed away. Again, nothing of substance has really been done as far as getting justice for the families. There's people who've fought and for their family member and passed away before seeing justice. So, yeah, there's a number of files that are still in my office that I look at with sadness and with a little bit of helplessness, actually, still.
Yes, no, it's very true what you're saying. And interestingly, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about some of the interviews that I've conducted with Ray over the years. He was on our show about once a week on this show. Yeah. And he was such a wonderful contributor. And as you're speaking about the files, one of the things that's coming to mind is the way that Ray would talk about the autopsies of the people that have died in custody with such precision, with such detail. Mm. And he would discuss the evidence, and we would talk about in the context of police investigating police.
I often wondered how that affected him, given his background of being stolen and the trauma that he would have endured during his lifetime. I often wondered how seeing the trauma of his mob, his own people, affected him. But it really never sort of showed. He never ever sort of got down or thought, oh, I'm giving up, or this is all too hard. He was just so relentless in his pursuit of justice for those people. It was, I don't know where he found his energy. What I do think is, though, that he dealt with his own trauma by helping others. I think that was obvious from anyone who knew him, even briefly, that's how he dealt with it. And it was selfless and it was relentless, and there was nothing suspicious or a lot of people in the activist community, you sort of wonder what their agenda is and what their motives are. Ray's were pure, always pure, and with such an energy and passion. And it wasn't even confined to Aboriginal people. Anyone that was downtrodden or oppressed. I remember I was talking with Caroline, his daughter, just recently about just an example of the man that he was, and she didn't know about this. My husband's Irish, so I have a very close connection with the Irish and Northern Irish community. And one of the young lads out here had his father had been killed by British loyalists in Northern Ireland, and Ray and his colleague or friend Anne Duffy Lindsay raised funds to get him on that plane, and they put him on the plane. And he still says to me that day that it was the loneliest plane trip he'd ever had, but it meant so much to him that Ray and Anne were there at the airport with him to support him. And that's the type of man Ray was. He did it quietly. He didn't go in for the photo ops or the big talk. He was just him, and he did what he had to do, and he did it quietly, which is rare and just so admirable.
You know, it's very true what you're saying, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because it wasn't just Aboriginal people, it was refugees, asylum seekers. And although his legacy does live on and there are some excellent activists out there, there is a special kind of unity that he formed with all communities, and I think that died with him.
Yeah,
we need to regenerate that.
Yeah, he's irreplaceable, but yeah, I think you're right. The legacy that he left has been taken up by some amazing people, Raoul Bassi being one of them, and countless people that I can't even mention at the moment because I'm a bit nervous talking publicly.
That's okay.
But
no, Lisa, you've done exceptionally well with this interview, and there's going to be 4 people paying tribute to Ray. But I'd really like to have you on at some stage, if that could be possible, just to talk about deaths in custody at some other stage.
Sure, of course. Happy to do that.
You have made a wonderful contribution to the show. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Marissa.
Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do you have a few children's picture books or footy boots that your kids have outgrown but want to find them a loving home? Well, drop them in at 3CR and put them in the Books and Boots bin. Books and Boots regularly sends pre-loved children's picture books and sports footwear to remote and regional First Nations communities and children across the country. Contact us at Books and Boots or go to the website www.booksandboots.org.au. We love a good book.
And you're back with the Doin Time show, and we're going to be on to our second interview, or our second tribute, and it's with 2 surviving union guys, and I've spoken to Sergio Zorino, and also Nick Whitehead will be joining us as well to pay tribute to Uncle Ray Jackson, and just to talk about some of the little-known things that happened about Ray's early days and union activity. Hello, Serge and Nick.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Good afternoon.
So that's Nick there?
Nick.
Lovely. Try to get a bit closer to the phone, guys, if you can.
I am, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so who wants to start in terms of talking about Uncle Ray? I mean, I know the two of you have done some great work with him, and I mean, Sergio, we were talking off air, weren't we, about unions and about they're not like how they used to be.
That's correct. I first met Ray when I was a young whippersnapper, fresh out of school, virtually. I was a newly appointed research officer for the FEDFA. It was the Engine Drivers Union, and I visited the oil refinery at Shell Clyde. It's a huge place that employed more than 200 of our members out there at the time, and Ray was one of the delegates. He was a union delegate on the job. And I think that similarly, Dick met Ray at the refinery.
Yes, that's correct.
What we were doing at the refinery is organising the workers. In fact, they were very well organised themselves, and Ray was in charge of he was a shift delegate with the PPU. And the PPU is there were 5 plants, I think, from memory, at the refinery, and the polypropylene unit was the unit that he was working on. He was a shift delegate there, and he then served on what was called the Refinery Operators Group, which was the body that the union organised at the job level. And I think that in those early days, I'm talking about the mid-70s, in that period, mid-70s to late 80s, we had lots of disputes both at the refinery and also through the maintenance workers who would come onto the refinery to work in what was called shuts.
Yes. The shuts had many thousands of, or many hundreds of workers carrying out maintenance work. And what we discovered, Ray discovered it, the use of guest workers from Korea who worked for less than the award wages and conditions. It erupted into a major dispute at Granville, the Shell oil refinery, and the dispute caused the Fraser government to back down from guest workers. These guest workers were an embarrassment to everybody, and they were working for a hell of a lot less than what the award wages were. The conditions where they had them living in a camp were terrible, and there was a fair bit of drama about the food that they were being served up. And Ray took it upon himself and the rest of the committee there, to start a campaign, and that's where I got called out there to find out what was going on with these guest workers and what was involved in it.
And eventually what happened was that the Fraser government at the time was trying to flood the country with these guest workers, and effectively Ray, through the organisation of pressure that they placed on the Shell Oil Company, they stopped this type of employment operating at the refinery, and it forced Fraser and the government to back down on their plan to introduce cheap labour into Australia way back then. So he was involved in part of that. I remember that Ray was, as a shift delegate, he was really technically really good. He operated the polyprop unit, which was really console operators. They were operating, sort of technical operations on these consoles to build, to make polypropylene products, which are really plastics. And Ray's knowledge was incredible about how he could operate that plant. And I do remember that when I visited the refinery regularly, we used to have the regular meetings that the refinery operators group would call. There'd be 200 of us, in the main mess hall out at the refinery, and Ray would get up there and I think he was the treasurer of the ROG. He had a really responsible position. And he learnt a lot of his skills in representing the workers both at the plant and also getting other workers like Dick to come in, who was an organiser, to come in and talk to the refinery workers about campaigns that were happening outside the refinery that we needed to get their support. And Dick was involved in that.
Yeah. There was a number of disputes around the guest labour, and one of them started just before Christmas, probably 2 weeks before Christmas, 1980, and the company thought that they'd wear them down because of the Christmas break, and they'd toss in the towel and walk away from the dispute. But they went right through the Christmas period without getting their Christmas pay or anything. And Ray was leading them, one of the leaders in it, and he did a marvellous job. He really did a good job.
I also remember, Marissa, that when I went out there on one occasion, we were trying to set up what was called the Workers' Health Centre, which was at Lidcombe. It was mainly started by women workers, clothing workers out in the western suburbs here in Sydney. And these workers had banded together, and they were just trying to support the research centre of the researching worker safety. And Ray led a motion at the refinery calling for the ROG that they had a slush fund, what we call a slush fund, a working fund, a fighting fund, and the fund would, and he called for a massive donation to be given to the Workers' Health Centre to conduct research, and it was Ray's initiative that pulled that off, and they donated substantial amounts of money to support the Workers' Health Centre initiatives, which were in those days were pioneering work that was occurring about protecting workers' safety rather than what we call preventative, rather than accident pay, which was what the unions used to sort of look for. If you got hit by something that was known, such as I was researching polycarbons and the effect of polycarbon
on the body,
ozones on the body, yeah. And Ray would be also learning through the Workers' Health Centre how that was. So he was very good at doing research, and in those early days he started to learn how to research these sort of complex medical and OHS problems.
Incredible! It's just incredible.
Yeah, Ray and I had 4 days at the Clyde Cameron College at Albury, Wodonga, and during that time we had a fair bit of spare time to research the effects of PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. And I was amazed by this bloke's knowledge, Uncle Ray's knowledge. It was marvellous. And we wrote a paper, and it was distributed widely, about 8 or 9 pages, full scap pages. And what eventually occurred, the Union Carbide plant had been manufacturing Agent Orange and that for the Vietnam War, and there was a hell of a lot of residue came from that site, which was on the shores of Homebush Bay and that there was the water became contaminated. The silt on the bottom was contaminated, something fearsome. And when the government did a survey and analysed what was in the water, they subsequently put a ban on commercial fishing on the upper reaches of the Parramatta River and of Sydney Harbour, and that ban still stands. I've been advised. Commercial fishermen can't work there anymore, and they have signs up, no water sports, and like skiing and all that sort of thing.
So Ray contributed to that, did he? You and Ray?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's a long-standing thing that happened.
Very
that's amazing.
That was way back.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? I mean, it's Nick and Serge, I really appreciate how the two of you have come on and talked about all this, and we've prepared for it, haven't we, in many ways? And I know, Sergio, you were talking about off air about how Ray collected newspaper articles, and maybe you and Nick could talk about that, about the occupational health and safety workers that died.
Yeah, when Dick was working as an organiser, Dick, I was the state secretary. So this is early '80s. I was the state secretary of the engine drivers, and I remember Ray saying to me that he wanted to have a go at organising as a union official full time. So he came off a well-paid refinery operator's job. They were shift workers. They were really well paid, and he came in and did work for the mass of our members. We had something like 8,000 or 10,000 members in the state. We built that up to about 15,000 members, and he was running around, with Dick, and they were running from job to job, doing all sorts of stuff. And Dick remembers one occasion where he used to go out and help injured workers in hospitals. He'll talk about that. But I remember Ray and I going out to many different jobs, and helping the workers with their various problems to do with safety. He had such a passion for safety that after he left the union and whilst he got involved in the Indigenous justice commitments that he had, he used to, I know I used to supply him with the tapes, videotapes, blank ones, and tapes for, audio tapes, and he used to scan all the media and every issue to do with disputes on safety, he would tape them. And if there were fatalities on the workplace, building industry fatalities, he would get the details, and he would keep incredibly detailed, contemporaneous records of all the safety issues that were up and going at the time. And he amassed an incredible library of that work, and I really admired him for doing that.
Dick and Serge, it's nearly the end of our interview because we're going to be having Carolyn on next, but I'd love to have you back at some stage to do some more recordings about all this.
We'd love to. We'd love to be involved. I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure that Dick and I would. We'll try and sort of dig up a lot more of what Ray actually was involved with us, and we've got to jog our memories at the moment. I just had some paperwork where Ray was employed at the Workers' Health Centre, and he wrote to Dick, for example, and in 1988, and Dick remembers, that's how he remembers the PCB incident. But Ray was involved in many of the other, industrial campaigns that we waged at the time, and helped to, have a strong union, because we were a small union, but we were very strong. We were very powerful in a sense.
Key position.
Yeah, lots of industries, and that's what was one of our strengths we had. And Ray understood that because he'd fought the multinationals at the refinery and won. So he knew how to win. And that's why I think those skills, held with him when he was working, against, the powers that be in terms of, a wrongful arrest and harassing people when they're arrested, and the downtrodden, and helping them to fight the powers that be.
Absolutely. Serge and Nick, thank you so much. Dick, why do I call you? Sorry about that. It's Dick, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with me today. It's been a long day. But look, it's lovely to have you both. You've spoken very powerfully in regards to Ray. Are there any final comments that either of you want to make?
Well, it's fantastic to hear that people are recognising some of the things that he's done, and they'll hear about these sort of things. And he's one of our Indigenous brothers who took up the cudgel to try and look after people, not only Indigenous people, but rank and filers on jobs.
Yeah, and from my point of view, we're trying to collect the research that we're doing to produce a book, and we hope that Ray will feature as a prominent activist in this book that we're prepared to write, to document his legacy, so that the wider world knows what the Ray Jacksons of this world did for workers as they came through the trade union movement, and as they worked, on to other things that they were involved in, activists that we were.
Absolutely. Look, you too have done a fabulous tribute. Thank you so much for that.
Good on you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll talk very soon.
Good.
Bye, Marissa.
Bye. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Radical Radio 3CR.
The Black Lives Matter movement is not going away here or overseas. It gives me hope seeing the numbers of people that turn out to these Invasion Day demonstrations in Melbourne. It gives me the understanding that we will win, folks. We will succeed.
You're listening to Radical Radio on 3CR, 855 on your AM dial, 3CR digital, and podcasting and streaming on 3cr.org.au.
And you're back with the Doin Time show. And our next tribute is Carolyn Jackson, who is the daughter of Uncle Ray. Hello, Carolyn. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Marissa. How are you?
Oh, Carolyn, great. Thank you for organising Serge and Dick for the show. They were just incredible.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Oh, well, I haven't met... I know Serge. I've spoken to Serge, but back in the days when Dad used to work with him. And, I'm glad that they were able to come on and, talk about him and his other things that he was doing before, previous things before Black Death in Custody and all the other achievements that he's done and his goals and everything else that he's done in his lifetime before he passed away. So it's just great to hear stories from other people, They know him from other spectrums. So, which is fantastic, which is really good.
It really is, and it's interesting how all of this is just meant to be. I know last time you couldn't come because you weren't well, and maybe if you had come on, maybe this wouldn't have happened. These things have a way of sorting themselves out.
That's right, exactly. No, it was really good. I just heard the last captions of it before I came on air, and it was really good. I'm so excited for this book when it comes out. So, and I'm really, looking forward to meeting up with Serge and actually talking about, other things about Dad, and so it's exciting. So, looking forward to that. It seems to be like every year since Dad's passing, there's something, great that comes out, with this Deathscapes, this website, and for that's been used in criminal law in universities, and he's also Doctor of Letters. And it's just fantastic. All these good achievements, all these positive things, that everyone can learn, and also keep his legacy going, which is just great. Phenomenal.
And Lisa also came on at the beginning, and she was talking about how Uncle Ray helped her with learning more about criminal law and how to handle Aboriginal deaths in custody, and she used to help him with all the families.
Yes, that's right, she did, yes. Yeah. She's great, Lisa. She's like part of our family, and, she's just wonderful. She's just such a lovely lady. And she really respected that and loved Dad so much, and she wouldn't be where she was without, a part of Dad, helping her, and, it's just really good how good things have come out of all this. And especially, like I said, with Lisa now, she does criminal law, and, so.
That's right. And Carolyn, how are you bearing up with your dad's death? I imagine it's still there, like you can never get over something like that.
Yeah, no, it's still there because there's a lot of things that you wish you said or done before, because he went unexpected. Like I was supposed to see him on that, he passed away on the Thursday and I was supposed to go and see him on the Friday, and, it was just hard because, we were supposed to do things on that day, and before he came out, after he came out of hospital, and we didn't get a chance to. And just some things that you wish, and I just wish I, told him how proud I was, of him more, so. But you weren't aware of the extent of his achievements and how much he's touched people and all walks of life. And I wasn't aware of any of this before he passed away, because Dad wasn't the type of man that would gloat. You know what I mean? He kept his family, and all these other things that he had. That was him, and for those people and those families, he it's like as if he had two families. So. And it's just that, and I just wish I knew more and was involved more before he passed away. But keeping his legacy going and getting people excited and people listening and following trying to follow what he was succeeding until he passed away is good. So
absolutely.
And I find by doing that, I feel like that I'm helping his legacy move on as well by getting people involved, which is great. For instance, saying that people coming on there today, which is just really, really good. And I'm just very, very grateful that you, Marissa, as well. You are like family to us, and the fact that you have us on air and you keep his legacy going and your listeners. So I'm really thankful for you and your listeners for listening in. And it's really respected. It's really good. So thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for helping to organise the show. And we've done a very special 2-part series this year. And thank you very much for helping me on this show.
And thank you. Looking forward to hearing from you again as well.
You too, Carolyn. I know you've got something to go to next, but all good. Okay, you take care.
No, thank you, Marissa. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to 3CR Community Radio 855 AM on digital and online. 3CR Radical Radio.
Have you heard of long COVID? If you or someone you know have had COVID-19, you may still experience symptoms weeks or months later. There are many symptoms of long COVID, but the most frequent are extreme tiredness, shortness of breath, and muscle aches and joint pains. Anyone can experience long COVID, including children. You can find information in your language on the Health Translations website, healthtranslations.vic.gov.au. Just type long COVID as a keyword.
A 3CR supporter.
Back with the Doin Time show, I believe. And we are now wanting to go to Raoul Bassi from ISJA.
Yes. Yes, good afternoon.
Wow, that is a most strange noise. What is that?
No, I stopped in the road. Because,
oh, my God, I freaked out. I thought, what's this? Sounds like a spaceship or something.
No. Not yet.
Oh, my God, I got such a fright.
Explosions, not yet, okay?
Now,
never said no.
That's right. But listen, we haven't got much time left, so let's stay on track here.
Come on, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're our final tribute for Uncle Ray Jackson. We've had some wonderful people. Carolyn Jackson was just before you. Can you just tell us what you remember about Uncle Ray and his work and your relationship to him?
Look, I have to remember him not only for what he did, if not the thing that we cannot do because he's not here. Understand? It's very easy to remember things like when something happened, what we're going to do, what are the ideas, what are the experiences, that he got more experience than anyone. And so that implies a lot of advantage, connection with people in another places, and every time there is a death in custody outside of our possibilities, he will be knowing somewhere in the community, and start to get things. The same thing when we do something that we want to be national, he will be in charge to call the people to do it together. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff. You can, I can do some of the stuff because he was a very good tutor for me, but it's not enough, okay? It's not enough because he was much more than one person,
And you two and other people in ISJA Sydney would be involved a lot with the passport ceremony as well. Were you involved with that?
Oh, yes, I got my passport. Yes, I got it. Yes.
Can you tell us about the passport ceremony?
The passport ceremony, it came because there was he also got the idea, the passport ceremony, not for Aboriginal people, because there were some versions of passports for Aboriginal people. It's not for the non-Aboriginal people. They want to support the Aboriginal people. Understand? So the passport it was organized with that thing, only for non-Aboriginal, and we do a great meeting in the settlement, and we printed some passports. There were about, I think it was around 200, 250 that we had, but also they were involved people from Palestine, and a particular person that they were going to visit Assange in England. He took a passport for Assange of the ISJA passport, okay?
Yeah.
That is the thing, that it was a very, very good meeting. And something that he wanted to do it for some time, And that moment the things happened, and boom, we done it, okay? That was the passport. The other thing that he wanted to do, that was what happened is interesting. He was to restart the marches for Invasion Day.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, because we didn't do anything, and many people used to go to to do nothing. They just go to the Yaboon Festival or something like that, but nothing. And we made a first march. I can't remember the year, but it was about 10 years ago. We were about 150 people, but we marched from the Reference Community Center to the Yaboon, and the police wasn't very unhappy with us.
That's good. So basically he participated a lot in Invasion Day protests, and that was really important.
Yes, we got that. He marched. There was a train. I don't know where he got it, but it was not very good for your feet, your the legs, things happen. We marched together in I think it was the 40th anniversary of the 10 embassy in Canberra.
Oh, the embassy, yep.
Yeah, we went from the embassy to the Parliament House, to the 10 embassy, the old Parliament. And he walked all the way. And because it was very slow, we, on purpose, every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we stopped. And because we were the last of the rally. And the police says, you got to move. No, we are not going to move. You got to rest.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That's what that thing in the embassy.
Quite incredible. Quite incredible.
Yes. And that's why those things it show who was he. He was much bigger than we think he was. Okay.
You've done a lot of work with him, and I've heard I remember that I was talking to a long time ago now about how, you and Ray and the others would do a lot of work about TJ Hickey, help supporting his mother Gail.
Yes, we did. So, and we keep doing.
Yep.
Okay.
It's still happening.
Because there is a situation that every year I want to talk to her in December, or maybe sometimes in November. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Understand? And we talk what she wants to do, and we organize to do it. That's it.
Yep.
Understand? And after that, I start to make the other stuff, talk to the police, start all the campaigns with leaflets, posters, get the people working in that. And we've been doing it, I think this year was the 70th anniversary, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 70th anniversary, I think. And it was not to be, because it was in the middle of a big mess. It still continues in many parts of the activism in general. But we did it. And that's why one of the things we got an agreement with Rai was when we think that we have to do something, we will do it. Regardless if it's going to be massive, if it's going to be small, but if we need to do something, we do it. No excuses the number, understand?
Exactly.
It's not to show to the people that when you believe in something, you have to do it. Understand?
That's exactly right. And I think, Raoul, that you're carrying on the work of Uncle Ray, that you're doing, liaising with the families, like you said, on the 14th of February, TJ Hickey program that I did. Raoul, thank you so much for coming onto the program. Look, I've only got an hour and I was able to fit 4 of you in, so that's pretty good. Are there any final comments that you want to make before we finish?
Yes, the main thing is that we have to start to think in new ways or new forms to do the things that we are doing.
Yes.
Right? Because we cannot keep doing the things simple, say, someone passed away or killed or was killed or whatever. We make a rally, we got more or less a good participation, but we should keep doing this stuff. Not just once and go home.
I see.
And the other thing is try to combine the other death custody. Because one thing that we are developing in ISJA, like the idea that many of the death in custody in the last time are with a totally different each one, okay? But all got the same and common point, that is the person died because or the police or prison office or whatever, they didn't care, okay? Or a medical thing didn't care. But the reality, the people, if it was attended in time, they were respected, and blah, 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 he would be alive.
That's exactly right.
That is the thing that was... You got the sample of Tanya in Melbourne.
Auntie Tanya Day.
She should be alive.
She would have been alive today. It's true.
And that is the point. The point is not that they kill him. She should be alive.
She should be alive, absolutely.
That is the real point. The other thing you kill it or kill it, it was a mistake. It was an escape. Rubbish. The death of a person there are no solution for the death of a person. Okay?
Auntie should have been alive, and there were lots of oversights and a lot of things that happened with the police at Castlemaine Station and on the train.
But all what happened with the guy in the Northern Territory. Three shoots to kill him.
I know.
And go to court and he gets he says, no, you can go now. It's totally and absolutely. And I tell you something.
Yep.
The day that we can put 4 or 5 death in custody together and make big public and have I make it very hard, okay? We got a better chance to bringing one at a time, understand?
That's right.
Because one thing that these bloody people in this country is understand is numbers, okay? You tell him that today and yesterday 2 people die on the road, okay? An accident on the road. Oh, well, okay. When at the end of the year, the police come and this year they died 653 people. Oh, how come that happened? And they're dying every day. 2, 3, 4. I don't know Melbourne, but it's in New South Wales, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's very true what you're saying. You're talking about the numbers of deaths in custody. I get what you mean. Yes. Raoul, that's a very... Absolutely. It's a very powerful statement that you've made there. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, and I hope to see you again sometime.
Yeah, sure. Keep in touch. I keep in touch with you if we...
Absolutely, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Raoul, for your tribute.
All right. Good to
Thanks so much.
All right.
Care.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Join Free Palestine Melbourne in remembering the Nakba at a vigil at the State Library at 12 midday on Sunday the 15th of May. Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic and commemorates the displacement and ethnic cleansing of more than 700,000 Palestinians from their homes to create the State of Israel in 1948. The Nakba continues with refugees from 1948 still living in refugee camps and more Palestinians being displaced as Israeli settlements continue to be built on stolen Palestinian land. The event will include naming and acknowledging many of the towns and villages destroyed by Israel. Nakba Day Vigil, midday, Sunday, the 15th of May, on the steps of the State Library of Victoria. Free Palestine Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
And it's approximately 4:52, and we're nearing the end of our program. And I wanted to thank all 4 contributors of the show today. And I wanted to thank Carolyn, Raoul, and also Nick and Serge. And at the beginning, we also heard from Lisa Deluca as well, all speaking about Ray Jackson. So we're just nearing the end of this memorial program, part 2. And I wanted to just conclude the program by leaving you all with a quote from Ray Jackson. And it says, "The invasion of the Aboriginal nations that began in January 1788 continues to this day, but after time it also allowed under statute a xenophobic and racist law that was used against my peoples and immigrants, refugees, especially if they were not white, in a social understanding." Ray Jackson, open letter to Kevin Rudd, MP, August the 5th, 2013. And I also wanted to apologise to listeners. Through no fault of her own, Professor Bronwyn Carlson was unavailable to attend the show today, but I'm sure she's still with us in spirit anyway. So it's approximately 4:53. We're going to be going out pretty soon with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band. And I was particularly honoured to be able to bring you special coverage in this part 2 of the series of the memorial of Ray Jackson, and really looking at his contribution to union activity and Uncle Ray's incredible work in regards to occupational health and safety issues. And also wanted to also reiterate that Uncle Ray was also from the stolen generation, and he didn't know that he was Aboriginal until he was a teenager. And even then as an adult, he never actually knew who his family was. And wanted to also give out a special cheerio to Joseph Bulyese, who was interviewed a couple of weeks ago during part 1 and talked quite a lot about the incredible campaign work that Uncle Ray was involved in for Aboriginal deaths in custody. So we're going to be having the next show up pretty soon, Climate Action, and it's approximately 4:54. We'll be going out now with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band, and it's goodbye from Marissa. Stay tuned every Monday from 4 to 5 for the Doin Time show. Stay strong and take care of each other. Bye.
As long as you are true fella, as long as you are real fella. All the people of different races with different lives in different places. It doesn't matter what your name is. We got to have lots of changes. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters if we're to save it. Are you the one who's gonna stand up and be counted? Are you the one who's gonna be there when we shout it? Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan? Black fella, white fella, yellow fella, any fella, it doesn't matter what you color, as long as you are true fella. All the people of different races with different lives in different places. It doesn't matter which religions, it's all the same where the ship is sinking. We need more brothers if we're to make it. We need more sisters if we're to save it. Are you the one who's gonna stand up and be counted? Are you the one who's gonna be there when we shout it? Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan? Stand up and be counted. Stand up and be counted. Are you the one who's always ready with a helping hand? Are you the one who understands this family plan?
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.